Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Vice President, Dr. Budge. Okay, this program is being called to order. Silent prayers in our respective religion. Amen. I would like to call on Mr. Samuel E.B. Momo, Principal Deputy Financial Secretary, to come and give a brief, very brief introduction of the chairman of this occasion. And we have to manage time. Time is not our favor because we have started very late. We had to start by 9, but now it's very close to 10. We are starting at 10 o'clock. So we are 1 hour late. Okay, thank you.
Noted. Honorable Vice President, honorable members of Parliament here present, the Minister of Finance, other government ministers here present, our esteemed vote controllers, permanent secretaries, and heads of various parastatals, our development partners here present, a diplomatic and consular corps, the Fourth Estate, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I have a task this morning to introduce the chairperson for the FY 2025 National Budget Policy Year. A person that I have known, associated with, and worked with over 30 good years. Our chairperson holds a Master of Arts degree in Economics from Leone University in the United States of America, and a first-class Bachelor of Social Sciences degree with honors in accounting and finance. His appetite for professional development enabled him to study for the ACCA, and in 2005 June, he became a member of the Association of Certified Chartered Accountants UK and Institute of Chartered Accountants Australia, ACASA. Precisely 5 years thereafter, in June 2010, he was admitted as a fellow of the Association of Certified Chartered Accountants UK. Our chairperson, career civil servant in 2000, and that same year he moved on to KPMG, and at KPMG He was part of a dedicated audit team that we are assigned to audit and provide financial advice services to various private and public sector institutions. Having been as consultant budget analyst at the Ministry of Finance in the Budget Bureau Division under the then PSMS Project 2. And at that division, he was very, very much instrumental in terms of preparing our annual budget estimates and, of course, providing fiscal tables and monitoring reports. Because of his dedication and duty, and as a vacancy was created in the ministry with the appointment of CPM Director of Budget, position that he held over 10 good years and 3 supplementary budgets. And of course, there was the pioneer of migrating the MTEF line item budget to activity-based budgeting in 2014. The chairperson, because of his dedication to duty, was in April 2018, after the restructuring of the ministry, appointed as the principal deputy financial secretary. A position he held and performed creditably. He pioneered most economic and financial reform at the ministry. And in June 2023, he was elevated to the MVO position of financial secretary as the principal advisor on economy and financial policy. As a financial secretary, yes, please. Ladies, Honorable Minister, ladies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, help me to welcome our dynamic financial secretary, Mr.
Thank you very much, PDFS. I think you have an A in your thesis, financial secretary. Thank you very much. We will not be defending anyone's budget this morning, so I still want to appeal those that are sitting at the rows after the door. Please come. There are spaces here. Most of the action will be taking place at this end. So just feel free to migrate, please. I will not ask you to defend your budget this morning. But for us just to have everyone's attendance as the program goes ahead. So thank you very much. Honorable Vice President, Honorable Minister of Finance and Deputy Minister of Finance, Honorable Minister of Planning and Economic Development, Chairman of the Parliamentary Finance Committee, and our able representative for Civil Society Organization of BAM, Mr. Walker, Ministers of Government, Deputy Ministers, Members of Parliament, our development partners present here this morning as well, all stakeholders in the budget process. Let me welcome you on behalf of the Ministry of Finance to this year's policy hearings. Of course, we all know the policy hearings is the curtain raiser for us to start discussions around the budget process for the subsequent year. So we are talking of 2025 budget. So based on provisions in our PFM Act and the Constitution of Sierra Leone, we are starting a consultative process in putting that budget together by all coming here today to discuss what will be the underlying policies that will drive the budget presentation to Parliament later this year by the Minister of Finance. Last year, by now, we hadn't launched the NDP, but we have hindsight of what were the issues that will be in the NDP based on the manifesto that was presented by the government, especially on the Big Five. I think it was after the policy hearings, after presentation of the budget in Parliament, then the NDP was launched. But this year we have proper grip of the NDP now that it has been launched. We know the issues that are in the national of the programs, projects, and activities that are in the National Development Plan, which has been approved and presented to the people of this country. So the policies we are going to discuss, the budget hearings we're going to have from next week, they will focus on the clusters in the National Development Plan and how sector ministries are going to align their programs, their budgets to the objectives of the NDP. So I'll make sure every year we can monitor and measure the progress we are making in the implementation of the NDP, because that's what's driving the budget, the resource allocation. That's why this year, even the themes of the budget discussion, we've been able to classify them over several days of the discussions. So for the first 2 days, we said let's just discuss about feed salon, and then we discuss about human capital development, we discuss about infrastructure and technology, we discuss about public administration and governance, and we discuss about youth empowerment programs. So that at the end of the public sector, or how they intend to fulfill the objectives in the NDP. So that's how the discussions have been shaped from next week onwards. So today, we'll start by discussing the broad policies that will drive the budget. So policy makers here that have been well selected to make statements from the Ministry of Finance, Planning, and even up to the level of the Honorable Vice President himself will help to shape those policies which will guide us as we formulate the budgets. The budget, as we know, is not prepared in a vacuum. Of course, it has to be done within a framework within what we believe the country can generate in terms of resources and how we believe that can be spent. So therefore, as part of the process of developing the budget, we are already in discussions with development partners also to see how they will come in to support the budget to grow our economy, exchange rates and the rest, and then they will give us their own inputs to help shape the framework which eventually will put in the context of the budget, and the minister will table this to Parliament later this year. So this is why we are all here to take part in that process. Over the past 1 year, we definitely recorded significant economic gains from where we are about 12 or 13 months ago. We've seen stable increase in GDP. GDP growth is moved from 3.2% last year, we're projected to grow by 4.2% next year. Inflation, we've seen from the mid-double digits of 54-55% October last year, now it's now in the lower 30%. And we expect that during the course of 2025 budgets, we'll definitely target inflation to come to a single digit. We can do it, and I believe with the support, we'll get there. The exchange rate also has been stable from October to date, and we intend to keep it at that. Why? Because we've instituted policies collaboratively with the Bank of Sierra Leone and other economic agents to make sure we relate and respond to the issues that affect the supply and demand of forex in our economy, and how we put policies in place to address that. And even work closely with the banking system to make sure these policies, some we have enacted through laws, are well implemented so that we don't have a reverse of the situation, but rather we would like to see a situation where our exchange rate will improve, even coming to 1 or 10 million to $1. I believe we'll all be happy for that. And that will bring giving more value to our emoluments, because we know emoluments have really depreciated as a result of the exchange rate depreciation over the past years. So there has been loss in real consumption of citizens in terms of the income. So therefore, these things are really at the top of our minds when we do the budget, to make sure we handle the macroeconomic variables very, very strongly, so that these people feel the impact. When people say they don't feel the impact of the budget, the impact of the economy, it's because the indicators are not going towards the right direction. But when these indicators speak towards the right direction, then every Sierra Leone and every citizen, of course, will feel the impact in their pockets. Budget execution has been challenging, of course, over the past 1 year, because we are trying to consolidate, looking at where we came from in terms of exposure, fiscal exposures. And while budget deficits, we are allowing budget deficits of double digit of over 11% of GDP balance. Now we brought that down to about 5%. Now we brought that down to about 5% of GDP budget deficit. So which is why yesterday we were in discussions with the ACC regarding their new anti-corruption strategy, and the group members from the public, independent people to look at the strategy. And whilst we are consulting, I think they met some of you MDAs, and the main complaint was they are not getting your allocations on time. Ministry of Finance is not really creating strategy, security environment, political environment, energy, and all of these things that will be out the battling to handle it and make sure there is some form of stability, peace and stability in the country, and we see things are moving on quite, in a more improved way compared to the past. I think they were able to appreciate that a trade-off has to be made. If we are to meet all of these expenditures, all of these critical programs of government to make sure that the country operates smoothly, then definitely from the same resources, we cannot at the same time be able to release allocations to MDAs on a timely basis as we have loved to. But regardless of that, we believe most MDAs have been able to receive resources from the budget, though perhaps not up to 40–50% so far this year. But we intend, and I'm sure the minister will speak to that in the statement, what we'll do to address that before the end of this year. Even the hospitals again will be able to make transfers to them this year so far. So these are some of the things that have been driving budget execution so far this year. And in the context of that, January to now, we've done all of that for our domestic resources. I think we need to give a round of applause to NRA. The National Renewable Authority, and the way we've been intervening, even from our banks, the support from the central bank in our primary markets to support budget implementation. There has been no budget half of the year. We exceeded revenue targets by 380 million. That's 380 in signing those two programs with the IMF by November and February next year. The World Bank also had discussions with our budget support program for this year, implementing the development policy actions, EPDC, to negotiate the MCC program, which so far has gone very well, and we see the MCC board has approved the program for Sierra Leone to address our energy sector for our $480 million. We hope that that program will also be signed soon by His Excellency the President, so that effective implementation will start. Already, we're in engagement with sector ministries and other key players on how we can begin to implement the conditions precedent for the disbursement under the MCC. So work is already underway. The European Union will also in discussions with them to resume budget support operations this year. And by the end of this year, also we expect the European Union to disburse about 12 million euros to the budget. So these are all the platform that we've laid. So which means going forward for the medium term, we've really moved on in terms of resource mobilization, we've set the framework for revenue mobilization. So it's about how we put all of this in the context of our budget in addressing the National Development Plan objectives. So that is what we'll be looking at over the next couple of days or weeks in putting the budgets together. So this afternoon we'll start the discussions. We will not take all the 5 areas because of time, but the budget hearings will cover them, of course. So this afternoon we'll be looking at fixed salary again, renewable energy, human capital development in the context of health for all, how we improve our health service system in the country, and the NDP cluster and technology, specifically to see how we can support them through the budget and how technology can be used to implement economic programs and support growth. So that is what we'll be engaging for this morning to the afternoon, and then we'll adjourn, and then Monday we'll start the hearings bilateral with ministries and the Ministry of Finance effectively. So let me work on how we can shape these policies and how we can put them in the context of the budget, so that once it is presented to Parliament, we can all own it, ask our budget, and implement it together, so that we can have the results we are looking for as a country. So thank you very much, and I'll stop here so that I don't take on what's my policy and to use the advising to the podium to make statements. So without wasting much time, we'll start with our civil society representative from the Budget Advocacy Network. They have been very instrumental in supporting us in shaping government policies. They could be critical at times, but for me, I always love when they come from the critique angle, because that's where we land. So let me invite Abubakar Kamal back to make a statement. Thank you. Let's give him a round of applause.
His Excellency, Vice President, Ministers, colleagues in societies, diplomats, journalists, good morning again. Firstly, let me thank government by extension, Minister of Finance, for not only providing space for citizens to participate in a session like this, but for also in critical technical committees on revenues and expenditures. This shows that they value our commitment, to uphold that commitment, and continue to provide valuable input to support government interventions. I also want to thank the Accountant General report for June, which covers from January to June, for the operating expense for local councils, not was transferred as of June, based on Minister of Finance report. So it's a concern civil society at the new vigor at the PAC, and I want to say thanks to the Honorable Tawa and the committee for really doing the people's work the way it's supposed to be. Because the level of scrutiny the PAC is now providing is really commendable. And they have also set up a structure to follow up on the recommendations for the civil society that are there. We will support that process, and we support government to ensure that public resources are really utilized and they are accountable for. As chair for the ministerial for local councils, we are pleased to say that the gender budget at the local level is on the increase. However, Minister at the MD level, we are yet to realize a real practicable gender budgeting, and it's something we want to work with government to see how that can be improved. Because when we have gender budgeting, the impact will be massive. It's there towards leaving no one behind. And I read the budget circular, and there are new initiatives which society want to commend government on around green budgeting and child budgeting. And so we are calling for the MDAs when implement this initiative to be more transparent and accountable, so that we support that side. It's a very good initiative. On inclusion, I'm happy that we are included in this process, but we did a report quite recently around the impact of downward GST 2 years back and the barriers. And there are a lot of issues with SMEs raised. And since it's a policy hearing, one of them has to do it. And I've started having a conversation with some members of the Ministry of Finance, and they are also talking about how do we ensure that we have a tax impact on small enterprises. And there are competent women that have the capacity to discuss this issue with government. So they are calling for inclusion of SMEs to be part of the budget discussion. We know them, and they are very competent. On the revenue aspect, again, I also looked at the figures produced by NRA. They have been targeted based on January to June. But we are CSO, we are not only looking at transparency and accountability aspect. We also support the revenue protection by look at local and national level. Let me give an example. Through the base project supported by USAID, we have supported WASI to bring in over 26,000 new properties into the Canada system. And by our calculation, if only there is compliance of 30%, we will generate over 40 billion annually. And of course, the Minister of Development and the Minister of Finance will feel the relief which that will bring to our country. Mr. Minister, by the 23 of the budget speech last year, reintroduces the 5% import duties on rice. And we as CSOs wholly support revenue regulation drive geared towards supporting the phase alone. However, in this same hall, we are warning that based on this particular Commission of Agriculture, that rice importation will reduce 25% clearly. And we saw when that 5% was increased. We know that the import is not the only factor affecting increase in price. There are a whole lot of factors. But we also saw what happened, what the business people did in terms of bringing some amount of increase in price. And from that statement, another 5% will be included this year, making 10%. What we as CS is calling for now is, and what we are doing is, to wait when we have reached the stage to increase production, then we'll add up another 5%, making 10%. Because what's going to happen is, once they add 5%, the price of price will increase. And of course, those that are going to suffer most are the poor and the vulnerable. And we saw the statistics around Tonga, around the country. So that's our call for solidarity on the proposed to increase another 5%. The issues around feedback from the Ministry of Finance is a concern that we have raised over the years. For example, last year the budget discussion finished on the 20th of October. On the 23rd, society presented a comprehensive report that is geared towards improving the process itself, improving revenue generation, and improving expenditure management based on what was discussed. So what we are calling for, and again, it's part of the whole project recommendation, is how do we have that feedback mechanism so that when people come and participate, they will know that they are either taking or not actually taking. I want to conclude that CS will be to more transparent, accountable, and effective public financial management that will ultimately contribute to better governance and improved services. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Abubakar. I think these are very good insights you've given us in the process and how you've been contributing towards budget hearings and discussions. We've taken note of all the issues you raised, and I'll show you, especially on the feedback, we'll call you to discuss on how we put mechanism in place to address that. But let's make progress now. I want to invite the chairman of the Parliamentary Finance Committee, Honorable Kaisama, to make a statement on the role of Parliament in the budget process. Let's give him a round of applause.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, the Honorable Vice President, Ministers and Deputy Ministers present, heads of department, permanent secretaries, members of Parliament present, donor partners, the fourth estate, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. May I start by thanking the Honorable Minister of Finance for inviting me to make a statement on the role of Parliament in the budget process. Budget in democratic governance refers to the statement. The budget cycle has various stages ranging from macro fiscal forecast, budget preparations, approval, execution, and of course, evaluation. Parliament is mainly involved in the approval process and oversight on the budget. In line with Section 105 of the 1991 Constitution, 2025 budget and its subsequent ones, we address the 5 big game changers commitment of HE President Julius Maada. The role of Parliament in this budget process are as follows. Review and approve of the budget. This involves 4 stages. Stage 1 shall present the budget to Parliament no later than 2 months to the start of the financial year to which it is released. Budget debate. The budget shall be debated for 5 allotted days in line with Section 112, subsection 6 of the 1991 Constitution and Standing Order 63 to 60 of the Rules and Procedures of Parliament and Expenditures. At this stage, the report on engagement from the further scrutiny process will be presented to the plenary for approval of the vote heads and sub-heads of MBAs and the passage of the bill into law. Monitoring and accountability on the budget. Parliament monitors implementation of the budget to ensure that funds are issued as budgeted. In conclusion, therefore, Mr. Chairman, respectable audience, Parliament expects maximum cooperation from all stakeholders in the budget process to ensure budget credibility, accountability, and transparency, the use of public funds, and to achieve national development. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kaisamba, for that presentation and giving us the assurance that Parliament will play its role in approving the budget and taking it through all the stages as you just mentioned. We're making progress. So now I will invite the Minister of Planning and Economic Development to do a statement on the implementation and monitoring.
Your Excellency, the Vice President, members of Parliament, holy ministers, members of the Diplomatic Corps, development partners, members of the Fourth Estate, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Good morning to you, and I would also like to join the FS in welcoming you to this session of the budget policy hearing for the financial year 2025, national budget and medium term. Ladies and gentlemen, the financial year 2025 budget is coming at the backdrop of the launch of the medium-term National Development Plan 2024 to 2030 by His Excellency the President, Dr. Julius Magadil. We were all present at this launch on the 30th of January 2024. And as we are all aware, the theme of this plan is a transformative acceleration agenda for food security, human capital development, and job creation, which was deliberately chosen. Let me, at this juncture, thank all, including the stakeholders from the wider public, who contribute to Vice President, for the strategic direction and confidence reposed in us throughout the process. As the Financial Secretary pointed out, the significance of the financial year 2025 national budget as the budget that transforms the full year of the vision of the new plan. Today, I have been asked to speak on the plan's implementation and monitoring strategy. We are all aware, unlike the previous plans, which were developed for a 5-year period, that this new plan is developed for a 7-year period, running from 2024, in sync with the end of the goals. And the plan is also aligned to other international frameworks. This was deliberate, as it illustrates the government's elevated ambition to keep track on the issues and focus on building a capable and effective national economy as a prerequisite for the social, economic, environmental, and democratic stability. Your Excellency, distinguished guests, I would like to remind you that the plan is projected to cost $12.5 billion, of which $6.62 billion the government projects to raise $9.49 billion from both internal, and already committed external resources, leaving a total financing gap of 2.56 billion. As part of the plan's implementation strategy, government will work with our development partners to implement a robust, integrated national financing framework to mobilize the needed resources, including innovative climate change and blended financing. And internally, we will continue to review the cost of the plan in our annual and midterm evaluations of its implementation. For the development budget effective for the financial year 2025, as I informed the ministers last week, we will review, reprogram, and rationalize the stock of public investment programs for each ministry, department, and agency. In this process, only projects with smart, deliverable outcomes that are in sync with the medium-term national development plan, especially the big 5 game changers, and with adequate funding provisions, will be prioritized for inclusion into the budgets. And this will include the following: the reprogramming of all recurrence-related projects and programs into the recurrent budget. This includes training, capacity building programs, school feeding, school fees subsidies, and support programs, etc. These will be discussed bilaterally with the respective MDAs. Also, we will review the existing PIP portfolio for every MDA, so that priority will be given to the projects which are near completion and are still relevant within the new plan. New projects will only be addressed into the national development budget if they align to the medium-term national development plan, of course, especially the big 5 game changers, meet the MDA's strategic plan, and funds are available for that project. It's not all doom and gloom. It's not serious, but it's to rationalize the plan. We have some good news. To implement the national plan in the district level, at the level of local councils, we have developed and validated a standardized framework for developing district development plans, referred to as DDPs, that are aligned to the national budget, and we are currently engaging the local councils in rolling out this framework. The programs at the local council level in the financial year 2024 national budget, we established PIPs for the local councils, thus integrating local PIPs into the national budget. Ladies and gentlemen, well, this is also good news. I would like to point out that we, Sergio, are the forerunners in the sub-region to my ministry and the Fiscal Decentralization Department in the Ministry of Finance recently concluded a 2-week bilateral engagement with all councils where over 200 projects with an estimated cost of 450 million Newliums have been profiled and are currently under review and analysis into our national budget. Going further, we will deepen this process by considering climate resilient actions and gender mainstreaming in the public investment program. At least I'll get a clap from the Minister of Gender. We also hope to integrate projects supported by NGOs, and Honorable Your Excellency Vice President, you whispered this question to me, supported by INGOs and NGOs. To facilitate this, my ministry is leading the process to lead the capacity of local councils, which will commence next week. In order to ensure that all of this work is effective and avoids implementation challenges, we will adopt the following implementation measures. First, and I did mention this last week, whilst the Ministry of Finance maintains the fiduciary part of the implementation of the Public Investment Programme, the Ministry of Planning and Economic Development is going to serve as the gatekeeper and clearinghouse for all domestically funded projects. This will ease accountability and reporting on the implementation of the medium-term development plan, and is also extremely critical for the annual and medium-term reviews of the progress of the medium development plan implementation. We will collaborate with the Ministry of Finance and other stakeholders to ensure that the various technical committees in the National Public Investment Policy are triggered into action. For the local council, I'm nearing the end, to facilitate the conduct of feasibility studies and develop bank cost government, for which we are presently piloting 3 projects which we are about to disperse funds next week to update investment programs and feasibility studies. These 3 are the commercial fish farming project, Tech City, Ego, and also the update of the feasibility study and the investment plan for the sinking hydro in the Moyamba district. We will commence disbursement, I believe, next week after we sign MOUs with the respective ministries. I'm supposed to talk about implementation and monitoring. I'm talking about implementation very briefly on monitoring. On the monitoring and evaluation of the plan, our ministry is currently working with NAMIA to produce the results framework of the medium-term national development plan, which shall be the guiding tool to monitor the progress for the implementation of the development interventions and targets defined in the plan, and identify bottlenecks for resolution. It will also guide oversight, coordination, and implementation of the plan, as well as ensuring that information, data and analysis are of the best quality. And the results framework has been broken down annually. In the plan, you'll see annual targets, and this wasn't the case in the past. And what we are doing, and by the end of this year, maybe I should tell the ministers now, is that you will be, when we get a scorecard, let me not say evaluated, on the targets for this year. For instance, the Gender Act, that's one of the key policy actions, and the Child Rights Act, and the minister has moved on this. But for Freetown, very particularly, we're looking at the targets for production, coverage, the acreage, the increase in the acreage, and also the reduction in the import costs for staple foods, especially rice. These are all targets, and we will be looking at these keenly by the end of the year. So you go back to the plan and look at your targets, and when you get the results framework, look at your targets for this year. And we only have a few more months, a few more months, when we still have about 5 months to at least accelerate if you haven't moved on some of these targets. We will continue to work with NAMIA in monitoring these targets. And we look forward to continue to working with you all as we all deliver the government's Big 5 game-changing agenda for our people and our country. Thank you.
I think she needs another round of applause because she has given us detailed summary insights into the NDP and key areas we should be looking out for in terms of the implementation and in terms of the monitoring. We are not putting anyone on the spot, but at least that's why we are here to discuss these issues so that once we implement the cannot have the time to go through it in detail. So annual costs, if you put it on the NDP, is about $1.78 billion. So it means if our budget right now is still hovering around $1 billion, so there's a lot that we still need to do to even catch up. And as she mentioned, there's a financing gap of about $2.56 billion. So we still need to mobilize more resources. So thank you very much, Madam Minister. Now we want to listen to the key macroeconomic policies now that we underpin the budget for 2025. And so no other person best place to put that into perspective of finance, especially
Ladies and gentlemen, honorable ministers, colleagues, it's a great pleasure to join, and I'm very pleased. We have a very full hall. So this is one of those important events for the government. This year's policy hearings is the second under His Excellency's second term. And it reaffirms the priority of policies and strategies that have been articulated in the medium-term National Development Plan, which my colleague, the Minister of Development and Economic Planning, had actually eloquently articulated and giving an insight into how we wish to see that plan implemented. And of course, we're all aware that the key focus, the government intends to embark on a transformative acceleration agenda for delivering on food security, human capital development, and job creation. And since His Excellency came to office in 2018, the government has implemented all policy interventions to transform our human capital development status through the flagship on free quality education program, which was the focus of the previous National Development Plan. But also, I think we have embarked on many measures to weather storms that are emanated both internally but also externally as well, in multiple forms. Be they what happened with COVID, which I think we did very well to cool down, given the kind of results and the impact on the economy, but also I think the impact of the Ukraine-Russian crisis, which we never envisaged. But what we have come to realize as economic planners or even managers, we're in a permanent shock environment because of the kind of developments that we have seen emanating across the world. And they do affect our economy in trivial ways. But I must say that we had remained resilient as an economy all throughout this period. And I will just embark on prefacing what the resilience means by giving you some overview of the current macro situation in the macroeconomic situation. Honorable Vice Presidents and colleague ministers and ladies and gentlemen, the rebased GDP, we did the rebasing of the GDP, and I think it's important that we understand what that means. It points to a shift since 2018, and it's based on 2018 baseline. Since 2018, what we have is a larger economy, but the structure of this economy has shifted. And I think it's important to share that as a way of sharpening the minds of policymakers, and the way we should think about shifting policy to capitalize on what this means. In fact, when you are running an economy, most of our economies were deemed as those that desire structural transformation. What we have had is structural shift. I don't think we now speak to this. But the shifts, we are cruising at a $4 billion economy, we are $8 billion economy now. I think that is very important to appreciate. And this happened, this is really has been happening over the years, but since 2018 to now, it's what we have been able to establish. And the Statistics Yearling has published that report, and I encourage everyone to go to their site to read the fundamentals around it presented by international partners to do this analysis. And the importance of industry. That is what it is. These are the three categories. But the rationale is we are now capturing informalities. So there's more informalities in the economy that we have brought into our calculations. And then also, we are capturing new activities in the industry, especially mining, that is happening. And what it shows in terms of growth numbers, and I think I should share this, we have agriculture was 64% of this economy, based on the new released GDP. It is now only 29.1%. Still significant, but I think it's important to understand what that shift means. Industry was 7.8% of the economy. We are springing up in ways that we are capturing them. Now, we'll list some few. Whether it has to be with areas utilizing oil palm to produce or to margarine, those things for oil. And the like in country is visible. You see our sons and these entities are those signaling that we're capturing their activities. So I think it is important to appreciate that. And for the growth numbers, I will encourage us to quickly transition into using the growth statistics underpinning this done by statisticians and own it. Right? So the earlier numbers that were pronounced by the FS, and I'm not discounting that because I'm using, there are two numbers that we're using. There's an IMF number, but there's the number from statistics here. When you propagate that, there are good values coming out of that. So it means we have been resilient, even during the COVID period, and immediately after that, when we did the rebasing, it told us that the earlier numbers we are recording as growth, our growth levels were high. The reason why we have not actually classically witnessed, shortages of essential commodities in this economy, because we've been providing them through policies. Growth is being above the way we are recording them. And I dare to say that for 2023, in fact, we grew at 5.7% than the 3.4% that was earlier recorded, because we're using two baselines for base years for assessing the economy. So we have a more resilient economy than we used to have before. And I think that is important to drive home because it will underpin what we're going to be talking about. There are other fundamentals of the economy that are important to throw light on, and I think FS shed light on this, and we have to capitalize on them because there is a work underway to ensure that we have a proper grip on stabilization of this economy. Inflation is a very key indicator. Inflation had peaked at 54% in October 2023. We have seen over 20 something percent, if I do the math very easily, over 22-23% reduction in inflation. And it's continuing to go down. I think that's a phenomenal number. Yes, it's showing real efforts through policies, both fiscal but also monetary policy, that have been supporting this. But also, I think, structural measures, because inflation is measured from those two perspectives. They are macro aligned indicators, but also, I think, they are structural indicators. They are dealing with baskets of commodities. And when you see those baskets of measures, we are small prudence around fiscal policy, and then stability around exchange rates, but also increased domestic production of key food items. That in that basket, we've been seeing this reinforcing decline in price there. And it's showing in the markets, except when you have instances of social instability tendencies, then they will spike of prices, but not in a sustained way. So when they say they're spiking, when there's those risks, and then people leave the market, then prices tend to spike a little bit, but the fundamentals of it will go back to normal. So, and we are watching this on a continuous basis at the last 1 year, right? And I think the currency has settled, because after that shock, it has to actually attain a new equilibrium. And the new equilibrium we know is hovering around where it is. Our responsibility as economic managers is to ensure that it does not fluctuate too badly, but should be within reasonable band that can allow business community to be able to predict. Our deficit service responsibility are very high. Why? Because after the rebasing, we have come to realize that our revenue efforts needs to be phenomenally, fundamentally redoubled. Our revenue efforts, and I'll speak to that, is hovering around 7.8%. That's what it is as of 2023. To go out there, to be participating in the financial market, to take access to credit, to cover up for this shortfall in domestic revenue mobilization. And it puts pressure on interest rates. But that's where the challenge is, and the reason why, when you're doing the budget, when you're asking leaders in the executive to give direction for policy, it is these matters that they have to look at and see exactly how we increase revenue mobilization. Honorable Vice President and colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, against this background, the budget for 2025 will aim to implement interventions and policies to reduce and address the fundamental challenge of cost of living, because prices are coming down, but they are still elevated somewhat. But at the same time, improve livelihood by ensuring that we have interventions that can foster a economic growth and transformation. Now, the fiscal framework and the medium-term budgets will therefore support the implementation of the B5 game changers, and the development agenda recognizes the importance of reducing food insecurity, increasing domestic production that will ensure availability and affordability of food for all citizens. The implementation of this agenda, however, requires substantial resources. And the domestic revenue, as I've noted, for the year, we expect to mobilize 19 billion, which is far less than the projected expenditures that we have for the year, which is about 35 billion. 19 billion, as I said, will only account for 8.7%, a very slight increase above what we expect to mobilize in 2024, which is about 7.8. Now, and the government will therefore continue to pursue very structured policies, fiscal consolidation through enhanced revenue mobilization, and rationalize non-priority expenditures whilst we're protecting social spending and development expenditures. That's a policy approach, and I think I have to come up clear that. As part of this process, we'll continue to implement reforms to broaden the tax base, improve tax compliance, that we have outlined in the medium-term revenue mobilization strategy. There's a medium-term revenue mobilization strategy that I think is populated, and there's a structured committee with group partners, but also key stakeholders in the economy. We look at how that is implemented. It will inform our Finance Act for this year. And our Finance Act for this year will focus largely on efficiency in tax collection using technology and shifts in policies. Shifts in some types of policies, for example, public income tax policy, the details of which we'll be engaging, discussing, and see exactly how that takes shape. We'll try as best as possible to avoid, and we'll improve on compliance, as I've noted. Because tax compliance is very low in the country. We have assessed it. I think we are hovering just about 50% of those who are supposed to really file taxes are filing tax in the country. So we are not collecting. Yes, we are not collecting because of efficiency measures, compliance measures, and administrative weaknesses. And so I think we are going to be focusing on ensuring that we ensure compliance with tax measures, tax policies, because we have laws that back us to do those. We will limit externalities on certain products, because we are committed to gradually ensure that products that are not good for the health of the society, you have to ensure that you are not mean on it, especially when we don't compete effectively in the South region. So tobacco, the drinks, all of those, we will have on slowly making sure that we take the kind of policy measures that help people in preferential decisions. That's basically what I mean by limiting externalities. So grand policy posture for the finance bill is we really are not going to be big on introducing new tax rates, new tax measures. That's not the posture. The posture is to ensure that we introduce efficiency in the existing measure because we have front-loaded in 2023 and 2024 most of the tax increases in the system. We're going to try and avoid as much as possible the copycat tendencies that are permitted when you try to increase tax and you have trigger social problems in countries. So that's the posture that we are going to be pursuing on tax revenue. We are going to go innovative on mobilizing external capital. And I heard very clearly on the Minister of Development the gap that we have in funding the National Development Plan. And so, external resource mobilization, two components. Traditional external resource mobilization will be optimized. And let me speak to this. And you're aware, government has been engaging development partners to mobilize additional resources to complement our domestic revenue, supporting 5 game changers. Recently, His Excellency spearheaded a high-level investment roundtable on renewable energy and food security in Vienna, and where he would the Arab Coordinating Group. This was actually spearheaded jointly by OPEC Fund and Bahia, the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa. That effort, I think, really pushed out strong commitments that we've started materializing already. We've materialized the commitment by IFAD, who actually did pledge $90 million for supporting the feed salon agenda, purely in the area of poultry investment at scale, $90 million poultry investment in this country. So I think that's really excellent, and it's been negotiated of the grant. And what does it seek? I mean, it seeks to support 3 key interventions in a sector that I believe is a foundational sector for pushing our development agenda, which is the energy sector, foundational infrastructure. And so, Ministry of Services for community, that means our distribution network, but also, I think, supports the key entities, which are be able to shed light. What is important for this year is that once we sign, the date will be signaled, we expect an initial disbursement in the tune of about $48 million to facilitate the setup and do all efforts at entry into force to make the NCC very effective. That will be disbursed this year upon signature. IMF as well. We've done very well with the IMF. We shouldn't have been in program, sincerely, by the time we got to the second term of this government. But for the astute leadership of His Excellency, who made strong commitments to the IMF, that is committed to the reforms, both on tax, but also expenditure and other reforms. And we followed through as an economic team. We were able to successfully conclude the extended credit facility that lasted 2018 to 2023. And we got signal approval for a new program in March. We have been in negotiation. By end June, we have actually met all the targets. We expect the IMF to visit us in September, and the board date for disbursement is set for November 1, at least for the new program. This new program will last years, and it's going to give us access to 90% of our quota, plus an additional program, which is the Resilience Sustainability Trust Facility program, which is purely to support reforms on climate change and disaster risks. When you combine the both, which will allow us close to 75%, additional 75% of the quota, both of those will give us access to close to $500 million with a $50 million disbursement every 6 months coming to supporting our economic management. So these are clear efforts. These are very clear efforts at our end of mobilizing resources to support low effort and domestic revenue mobilization. The World Bank as well, we've concluded successfully the budget support operations the last 3 years that it resulted into 265 million budgets. We are having an additional reforms that must be implemented. There are 9 reform actions, and we have been engaging affected MDAs in the area of climate change, financial sector, stability, fiscal management, but also governance issues, and making credibility of our budget, which I think is a concern across the world. This across the country. This will allow us to drop down $65 million every year between 2024 and 2026. That's a solid, I think, solid support to the budget as well. European Union, and I will say this, European Union as well, in our discussion with them, is going to commence budget support beginning from this year. It's a total of 65 million euros for the next couple of years. It will last up to 2027. It will drop in $11 million euros this year, and in the next, for 2025, 18 million euros, and the subsidies 18 million euros each. And I think these are solid efforts, in my view, at supporting our domestic revenue mobilization efforts. In addition to, and I'll speak to university innovative financing issues when I get to the capital spending that has been spoken about. Honorable Vice President, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, in the budget call circular, this is basically on the budget formulation process now. On the budget call circular, we did provide guidelines and budget ceilings on the preparations of respective NDA budget proposals. Of course, the fundamental issue with budget is constraints. So given the limited budget constraints, we did provide ceilings for 2025, but of course the medium-term budget preparation is 2025 up to 2027. And so we're doing baseline budgeting. We expect you to work within your ceiling, but give us an idea as to really what is involved in delivering on your sector, on your NDA. And then we'll engage purely in the budget negotiation that will redirect resources to the Big Five. This is really the approach here. We want to be able to know really the true delivery of your sector, work within your ceiling, we'll see where the gaps are, and we'll know exactly how to fund the Big Five. This is the clear message. Yeah, and then we'll prioritize on certain sectors that must allow this Big Five to maintain your delivery in the way we think we can allow you to be still effective, or push more, give more push to the Big Five so that at least will bring meaning to the intent of both the National Development Plan, but estimates stay within the ceiling while giving us clear indication of what your real delivery rules will be. And in addition, all outstanding commitments, including all existing contracts and supplies that you have done for the current year, that may not be fully fulfilled, those ones have to be included. Because we want to limit those supplies eating into next year's, deeply into next year's deliverables. Because that's really the way I think most of the challenges in most of the MBAs, you carry forward and it eats up nearly maybe for next year's real resources that you should be using to deliver projects. We have admonished that it must include must adequately provide for prior to projects. No new projects, we don't want. MDAs must strongly be advised not to by the minister already. And this is to ensure that we are very clear on the delivery of the medium-term plan, but also the Big Five, and ensure that your strategic plan are clearly aligned with it, and that the budget estimates are consistent within the next 3 years. So still within the budget ceilings, we'll do the adjustment, but let's know what you'll be doing next year and the other year. That's how we must be looking at it. It's not just 1 year, it's actually a 3-year window. That should give us a guide as to how you're going to deliver on this. More importantly, this is basically for my colleague ministers. Kindly ensure that you take full ownership of the budget strategy, the strategy of the ministry. Ensure that you are the one that approve those estimates. And that's what we are going to take to do the negotiation with the Ministry of Finance. Our expenditure will be structured, as I've said, designed to reflect delivery on the Big Five. And on fees alone, I think it's important for me to make some policy pronouncements as well. We'll maintain our commitment to attain the 10% of the budget, at least within this period that we have committed to deliver it. That is in the budget, and we must ensure that it is delivered in time to align with the planting season. Because the whole issue has been, you miss, if the money comes late, you've actually undermined delivery on the feed salmon program. It's all time bound, we are very much aware of this. But also we have identified 6 ecological areas. Our focus will remain on those, both for our domestic revenue mobilization, but also with partners. We have identified infrastructure gaps in the agricultural sector, be irrigation, road access to those ecologies, energy, building of key infrastructure for agriculture. These are the focus that we want to pay attention to. We will work on access to capital for farmers, both large but also our smallholder farmers, and we will maintain the policies around ensuring that these farmers are approved, using whether it's e-vouchers and other forms of having access to capital. We're working on innovative financing for agricultural sector, both insurance but also agricultural fund. Will engage with the ministry to deliver on this. On human capital development, we will sustain current budget allocations to ensure that government drive on human capital still remain a focus. But I think we have injected a lot of resources that has actually taken us from the low base to some level. We are going to be trying to maintain that and capitalize more on this international financing support to ensure that this program does not fall out of the way. We still are committed to it, but the flagship is Freetown. So I think I should pronounce that as a policy statement as well. On infrastructure and technology, the fundamental issue is bankable projects. If you don't have bankable projects, you will not be able to do much in this space. We have met many times with donors. The first thing they ask you is, where are the bankable projects? What we have in the PIP are largely concept notes. Concept note does not give you money. You have to have pre-feasibility studies, financial model around the investments. That is what it takes to go to the bank. So we are investing with the Ministry of Development to deliver this aspect, help line ministries, for those projects that have been identified. Let's have solid documents. That's what gives us the ammo to go and be partners. We'll ensure innovative financing schemes on roads, for example. We want to stop investing on charity roads. Charity roads. Yes, especially on highly applied roads or charity forms of having access to water. Charity forms of having access to energy. No, you have to pay for water. You have to pay for roads, especially highly applied grounds. Now, the innovative financing approach is the following. If we have an investor, a contracting firm or construction firm that has identified source of financing or a road that we know is bankable, and I'll give you an example of those that are going to come that the president has pronounced. He has pronounced roads in Moyamba. He wants to do the Mambang up to Kambatok. He wants to do from Mabang up to even Shenge, for example. Those are leading to serious economic zones. These are fish farming zones that feed the entire country, but they have been cut off. People are not having access to them. They're using bad through water to come to Freetown, for example. You can do that road and toll them. And they can be heavily reliable and they can be pre-financed. And then we can allow how to make sure that within the budget, according to the way we have actually cracked out the financing agreement, we can program ourselves to pay. What has been happening in the country with capital spending on roads? We took upon them in the capital budget. We didn't plan for them properly, and then we caught up with the scale of it. So I'm saying they are going to be doing what they call review, reprogram, rationalize. Take a stock of existing projects and prioritize them. That's what it means. So we want to ensure that we really have control over road projects and have control over our capital expenditures. On energy, I must say, it's the same approach. The fundamental issue with the energy sector has to do with subsidies. So, we are committed to working with the energy sector to see how best to address reducing subsidies. We have done 7 town electricity projects. We are committed to ensuring that those projects are implemented this year. We are also committed in increasing uptake on regional power, trade, and supply. So issues around WAP, Transco, CI Energy, West African Power Pool access, these are things that we need to really ramp up in the years to come to make sure we support. There are many great investments in the country, but they are costly for our people. We have committed to provide subsidy to that space and share our best and lower the price. We are currently doing that. That's another, lower the price, or to be able to reach out to the remote areas where these services are provided for our people. And also ensuring that renewable energy, hydro and solar investment, we optimize on them and ensure that that's clear on extra budgetary expenditures. Where MPs are in, but also there's a perennial problem. We submit requests for expenditures that we are not in the budget. Media. And this caused a lot of slippages to priorities. So if you are encouraging to stay within budget, and the posture is if it is not in the budget, if it's not appropriated for, we will not fund it. And that's why when MDAs have been coming for enhancement of their budget media, because of our engagement with the Public Accounts Committee in Parliament, and we don't want to falter on the appropriation that has been given on the law, we send them there to go and see that appropriation when we don't do supplementary budget. So if it's not we want to stop the habit of doing this. We have the WCC. It's going to take us like 2 years to conclude that work, but there will be adjustments in earnings and the like. That's why we commenced the whole process of wage bill consultations this year. So if it has not been approved prior to the budget or the manpower planning process, we will not approve it. If there's any approval, it has to come through the Ministry of Finance, and we have to look through, sit with the WCC and rationalize. We are not going to be doing that because we are working structurally to rationalize wages, with proper wage relativities in the country, and be able to afford that we can afford. I just want to note that high security related expenditure have been driving our budgets of late. Of course, I'll point to what has been happening, whether it's strike scares, or strike actions, or what it's a coup, all those things are governance issues. Just this signal of continuous insecurity is costing a lot of spending, and I think it's important for you to displace the budget somewhat. When you have to provide for peace and social stability, I think all else will have to wait until we handle this. It's important to know that. So if some MPs are actually allowed to wait for a while for us to be able to ensure that you get your allocation for the year, know that we are handling other pressing issues that are creating the peace that we are enjoying around. And I mentioned debt service. Of course, the only issue of debt is historical accumulation of debt for the state. Honor obligations under difficult circumstances. And the reason why we are coming up with all these policies for enhanced domestic revenue mobilization and ensure that we have control over it. On capital budget, just to summarize, Your Excellency, Vice President, and colleagues, Minister of Development, Moped, has been very clear on the governance framework around capital budget. She's been very clear about innovating financing scheme, the need for bankable projects, avoiding in-year approvals, but ensuring that she will rationalize the existing PIP program. I would just encourage that we all support that process and will have control over our budgets going forward, make it credible. So let me conclude that, Vice President, please, that the government is keen on fostering prudent management of public resources in order to support inclusive economic growth and development. So the policy measures that will be articulated in the budget for 2025, they are expected to improve economy-wide efficiency, create the enabling environment that supports growth in businesses, investments, reduce cost of living, and also enhance the well-being of all Sierranians. So I would like to express my deep appreciation to my colleague, Deputy Minister, Finance 1 and 2, Financial Secretary, Director of Budget, the dedicated teams that have worked with us from all MDAs, including colleague ministers in the budget process. The process is going to continue, as we said, with strategic topical hearings, and then we'll have a retreat where we'll actually look finally at the numbers and how they all fit, so that we can know that the storyline we are saying will support the D5 will come out very clearly. And while it is possible to execute a good budget, very poorly, it is also impossible to effectively execute a properly poor budget, poorly prepared budget. So I urge you to be involved in the process, take ownership. I had the CSO guiding us on key topical issues, gender budgeting, child budgeting, but I've also spoke about baseline budgeting. All of those policies that we have said in the core circular will come to pass. So let me thank you very much for listening. I think the process has just started, and I encourage everyone to support us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. I think you really said it all in terms of what needs to be done to the budget. I cannot elaborate any further, otherwise I want to talk. I think you really said it all. Thank you, Minister. Well, to put all of these economic theories, policies, principles, concepts in the context of the budget planning, for the layman to understand, there is nobody best placed to do that than our Honorable Vice President, who is going to translate all these economic policies for the layman to understand what the budget is. So, Honorable Vice President,
thank you very much. Can you sit down, please? I think, Mr. Chairman, I will start to translate that in an anecdote to show that time has changed. When we were very young guys, school-going kids, in secondary school those days, when they say the Minister of Finance is going to pronounce on budget, I remember most of the time I was in Tongolili district, in Gile, that is Bongolekin Chiefdom, where I had uncles who were headmasters and principals, who buy a new battery, who all sit down and listen to the Minister of Finance. And I remember those days of Asakbisi Kampu and others, Sadia Gususeri. If the Minister of Finance did not announce increase in salaries of head teachers and principals, we will suffer for 1 week in the house. But if those salaries are increased, believe you me, it's another Christmas. So, but time has changed. Today, when you listen to the Minister of Finance, it's structural shift and structural transformation. I want to advise that when you add salary increase there, the people in the villages will listen to you and you buy batteries for their own. So I want to thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for giving me this opportunity every year to come and underline the policy perspectives underpinning the budget process. But first of all, I want to thank you personally, you and your team, your deputy ministers, and the entire team in the ministry over the years for the tremendous work you've done to stabilize the economy and support service delivery. Particularly against the backdrop of very, very difficult, challenging period not only in the sub-region, but in the entire global economy. We spoke about the dollar, being able to stabilize it. The FS said we want to keep it that way. No, we want to bring it down. And because we want to bring it down, we have taken extraordinary measures to allow the Central Bank of Sierra Leone to invest and start using Leone to buy gold, so that that gold reserve is going to constitute a collateral for strengthening the value of the Leone. So we have done all of that, and we expect, and there's a direct relationship between that and the cost of living. You realize that today, in the last couple of months, we have been able to stabilize the prices of essential commodities, but the cost of those commodities in the very far rural areas continue to fluctuate. Because if you buy rice, for example, 850 leones, and then flour 750, onion between 450 and 550 in Freetown and urban towns, when you move further where the road network is very difficult, the price increases a little bit further. So I think we've asked the Minister of Trade to work on a price stabilization formula wherein businessmen cannot just get up overnight and increase the price of essential commodity without engaging the Minister of Trade. We want to do that, and the dollar, like I said, is directly linked to that. We have seen the progressives. I had the opportunity to interact with senior French officials when they announced to me that Sierra Leone is now qualified for loan from the French Minister of Finance and Treasury, and that you don't get easily if you don't show seriousness in how you manage the economy. So today, most French companies have been called to the Minister of Finance to announce that news. Eiffage, Matière, of course, while I was in Paris, I organized several calls with the Minister of Finance to link him up with some of those big French companies that will now access loans from French government with a very small interest rate, about 2 to 3%. And that is what most French countries have been profiting. Today, given the excellent relationship we have with France, and the good relationship between the President of France and His Excellency President Julius Madame, those opportunities are coming to our doorstep, and I want to encourage you to continue to tap on those new opportunities. We have seen a very difficult transition from development financing to subsidy. In the last couple of years, the Minister of Finance has done extraordinarily well, because when there is an increase in the cost of living, we never allowed that to be translated to ordinary citizens. So we came in the form of subsidies. We subsidized free countries like Algeria and those countries that have oil. But in the sub-region, in terms of our tariff structure, and I believe these are very difficult times, but also these are times where we have stood up as a country. We have showcased our capacity to manage the economy very well. So I want to thank you, Honorable Minister, once again. Moving forward, I think you have already outlined the key perspective. What we expect is what I will call, in the layman's term, bridge budgeting. I don't know whether that is layman enough. Bridge budgeting means that you build a budget that creates linkages. The idea is to consolidate the gains we have made and open new perspective into the big five. So all the gains we have made in the human capital development sector, we want to keep them, and then we want to build on them, and then we also want to open new perspective. So we want to build a bridge between those gains and the new horizon we are moving into, especially the ones that have been clearly outlined by the Minister of Planning and Economic Development. Some of these gains, I don't need to list them here. We all know them, what we have been able to achieve in the education sector. The budgetary, we have increased budgetary allocation there. We have increased the number of people, added 1 million people to the school system over the years, prioritized girls' education, of course, health, We've done extremely well in maternal and infant mortality. We have been able to progressively reduce from 2018 when we came, the statistics was 1,165 or 100,000 live births. Today we are at 440 and we are waiting for the new statistics, which we are sure and confident that we're going below, we are going downwards. And that is a very good one also for infant mortality. In the area of energy, it has been very difficult, but we have achieved. We've been able to expand access. We've been able to improve on solar mini grids. Today, over 54 towns in this country have off-grid solar solution. Tomorrow, I'll be in Botlogoli Street in one of the chiefdoms in the Komsama, one of the big towns in the Komsama, to put on another grid. So it shows we have been able to work on the transmission lines. We have expanded access, and we continue to subsidize. But moving forward, I will come to that, we need to reduce drastically the energy budgetary support to the energy sector. And that will not come by just increasing tariff, because as a country, we are obliged to keep the tariff structure. We know that 90% of consumers are within the social tariff category. We want to keep that, but what we want to see in the energy sector is improved management. Because all the investment that is coming to the energy sector, 480 million from MCC, DFS, and all those, if you increase generation, you modernize the transmission line, you expand distribution network, but the off-taker management, the governance of the sector is not effective, efficient. Believe me, all that investment will go to the drain. So we want to see thorough reform in that sector, particularly the off-take and the utilities, to rise up to the challenge to reduce technical and commercial losses, because we have to get that. Of course, in the area of transport, you've seen connectivity have been improved fiber connectivity. We have expanded the networks. More and more Sierra Leoneans now have access to internet. And then the Wakafine boards, of course, we've done some reform in the port. We are expanding the port. Other potential investors are coming to do further investment in the port to expand the port. In all of these gains, we still look into the future. We look to the future because one key areas I normally tell people, when you have a government that spends a lot of money in the social sector, that government needs to unleash the potential of the productive sector. You need to make money. For you to distribute money, you have to make money. So we have to go to the productive sector. So we are looking into the future. It means while we are trying to support the big five, we also have key areas that we need to focus on. We know with the big five, already in the last couple of years, we have seen improving local food production, particularly the feed salon. We have seen a movement, gradual increase from 947,000 metric tons. Now we are at 1.2 million metric tons. In the last couple of years, we have also, I want to thank you very much for the $10 million grant you've given to farmers. But like we said in one economic management meeting, we still have to do more to ensure that people who want to go into agriculture have competitive loans. They are not subjected to the same interest rate like people who want to go and buy and sell. We have to de-risk that lending. We have to ensure. That is something we have started discussing, that we are working with the IFC to see if we can create a collateral funding at the central bank to support people. Because when you go for loans, if you have a collateral funding to support you, you are able to reduce the insurance. If you reduce the insurance, the interest rate will automatically come down. So we have to create additional incentive to encourage private sector investment in the agricultural stream. Like His Excellency normally says, The objective of Freetown is one single objective: increase domestic food production. Because over the years, the amount of money we are spending to import onions, to import poultry products, to import rice is too huge. And that also has corresponding impact. Minister, you know, every time we are under stress from suppliers for additional foreign currency. So when we increase domestic food production, when you have a country like ours that spends about $600 to $800 million to import food, if you reduce that, then you create less stress on the foreign economy, and also, make no mistake, the agricultural sector is the most promising sector for job creation. From production to processing to commercialization. It's a huge opportunity. That is, I'm very happy that you made a seminar statement here that you continue to support agriculture. We are very happy about that. And then we have seen massive improvement today, like you said, industry. I'm very impressed that you gave us the statistics. We have worked very hard to encourage companies to come and establish industries here. And now, we also have to encourage them. Particularly, we have to review the consensual regime. We are going to give concessions. Waivers to companies. We want to encourage them to go further up country. Now you have electricity in Bo, you have electricity in Kono, you have electricity. The CLSD line is being extended to the north, from Bolivia going down to Koinadugu, coming down to Karine. So the further you establish an industry in the region, the more waivers you are going to get. That is an incentive to create jobs in those regions. You know, that will be very, very interesting, because today we have seen a growth of industries in Freetown, and we are struggling to provide space for them. So many people want spaces in the ports, people want to be around Kisi. We are struggling to provide spaces. So let's give them some concessions so that they can move in country, so that that is an encouragement for them to go. Because one of the arguments they normally give is that you don't have electricity on country. Now that we have the CLSG line, and it is working, we can encourage them to go. We have seen the growth of industries. Today we produce cocoa, we produce our own sardine, vegetable oil, we export vegetable oil, we export Maggi cube to our neighbors. And then we see onions, the production is getting up. Today, if you go to the PC and Son farm, if they package the onions that are grown there, you will not make a distinction between that and the ones that is imported from outside. That is, we are seeing a lot of investment in that area. Essentially, we have also done very well with regards to infrastructure. You see, we are very happy that when we travel up country, we see communities come to thank His Excellency for the bridges. You know, Operation No Ferry, we are regularly trying to get those old ferries out. And we are always very, very proud when communities come to show their appreciation to His Excellency, the President, for that. We have seen private sector involvement, not only in agriculture, but in so many other things. The basis for job creation is growing. And for job creation, already there's a strategy, there's a job creation strategy which will go to cabinet, that will link all the key sectors within government. And in addition to that job creation strategy, we have expanded dialogue, what we call a social dialogue with labor unions and employers, because we need to take their views into how we are going to carve out our job creation strategy. And we expect the President to launch that job creation strategy in the next couple of months. We have expanded investment in social protection. Over the years, in 2018, when we came, the budget from our development partners was around $22 million. We introduced a new dimension we call the productive social safety net. That allowed us to increase that allocation to $42 million. Just last week, we were in Kenema District to see how to enhance coordination in that space. So these are things that are also being moved by several ministries, including Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, Gender, Ministry of Youth, and Ministry of Labor. So that is the process that also needs support. On the human capital development is that we've done very well. I'm very happy that you made a commitment to support that. And I must say the challenges we have now in that sector is to improve management in one or two areas. Donors are calling for the expansion of the school feeding program. They expressed challenges in the school feeding program, and I believe expansion of the school feeding program has not been accompanied by a solid infrastructure that allows us to properly monitor that. The minister is here to take note of that. That is one thing that came from the Kenema meeting. And then also when it comes to health, we've done very good indicators. Hospital management is still a challenge. We go to hospitals and we see that there are challenges there that are very critical. That when they are stalled, like allocations to the security sector and the health ministry, when they are stalled, they automatically impact the management and functioning of hospitals. And sometimes it's a problem. So let's get that recurrent, let's get that as a priority so that we don't delay on that. That will help to improve hospital management as well. We still know we have to reduce out-of-pocket expenditure on health. That is one key area. On infrastructure, we are very pleased with what is happening in the Ministry of Communication, Technology and Innovation, Digital Transformation and Technological Advancement. We are seeing increased connectivity, like I just said. We are now seeing the role of technology in supporting the Big Five and improving governance. We are very, very happy about that. And then also we see the financial inclusion through technology. Just a couple of weeks ago, a big company that is operating in other Francophone countries called Wave. I was very impressed. They came to Sierra Leone. This is one of the biggest money transfer companies. They are opening up here, and we're very, very happy about that. And then, of course, we have spoken about energy, gradual reduction from the budget. Energy needs to break even. And we need to see, we are happy now we have a new chairman of EDSA to see how to improve the management. That is the key challenge in the energy sector. It's not generation. It's not generation. The road network, we are also improving, working on that. And I want to thank the Minister of Works. In the last couple of years, we have been engaged with the Minister of Works, the Road Maintenance Fund, and the SLRA to think about alternative financing model for road networks, so that at least we are able to reduce the stress on the national budget. Public sector reform, of course, this is critical. For you to deliver, for a government to deliver, you need a workforce. You need an efficient, motivated, and a viable public sector infrastructure to help support delivery. So this is a new ministry, and it needs support. Already we established a working group under my supervision. We've done a lot of work there. We wanted to support the ministry to be able to develop, to roll out the public sector policy, so that at least to revamp the reform of the public sector. Since it's a new ministry, it requires support in terms of processes and also in terms of new staffing to enable that ministry to stand on its feet and be able to do excellent work. Because that is something I also want to take the opportunity, honorable ministers, to appreciate ministries that have worked very hard to increase revenue in their respective ministry. I want to start with the Ministry of Fisheries and Marine Resources. We are seeing that the revenue is increasing. We know that ministry has got huge potential. They can do more to do that. Through Access Job Creation, we note the very significant strides they have made to increase job opportunities. Another ministry is tourism. We see that have also supported the service sector. The service sector today, as the minister said, it has improved. So tourism is one sector, one ministry that have been doing excellent work around that, trying to create make sure that the service sector contributes. Lands Ministry, we have seen a massive increase in the budget of the Lands Ministry, their contribution to the budget. Today is they have resources, and that resources allow them also to further invest in the new administrative city in Leone. You know, we have acquired lands and we need to pay for that. So since they have money, it's a very fine way to do that. We see mines, we've seen the establishment of the mineral wealth fund. That is a cardinal move that needs resources. Because if we are investing a lot of money today in free quality education, the future of free quality education is going to be the status of higher and technical education. We have to invest in higher and technical education in essentially three big areas. One is infrastructure. Today when you go to those campuses, they complain they don't have enough classrooms. But I'm also very pleased and thank the minister for the alternative financing model she has presented to Cabinet to generate additional resources to support higher and technical education. Because if we don't get it right, our investment in free quality education is going to seriously be undermined. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done there in terms of human resource, in terms of infrastructure. And also I'm very happy that the mention of the local councils. Local councils, they are central to delivery. Make no mistake, if you go to these councils, just in the last couple of days I've been in Bo, I've been in Kenya, I've just got another interministerial committee meeting. If you don't have councils in this country, governance will be crippled. Because the number of negotiations, development, social assistance negotiations, these councils are involved in from ward level to the district level to the municipalities are huge. So they need support. And we spoke, we made a fantastic presentation, the ministry made a fantastic presentation on how to support them. And one thing that we agreed on is capital grants. The capital grant council, no council in this country has got a single vehicle. If you can help them with the purchase of 25 vehicles, that will go a long way to support them. I want you to please pay attention to that, put that in the budget, so that at least one vehicle per council, we have 22. So just to round it up 25. So we don't go. That's it. New areas for financing. Please, we want to encourage ministers that have got new opportunities for financing. Climate financing, very, very important. Climate financing is also very important, and we want to pay attention to that. But the ministry also does not have enough human technical staff. If you can support the ministry to be able to get the kind of technical staff they need to be more proactive in climate financing, that will be great. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I think the Minister of Finance has said everything. And like I just said, my responsibility here is just to draw the Minister of Finance and also to appreciate key sector ministries that are really revenue generating ministries that have been doing very well to continue to do more. We still have